Amanda Krause-Barnett, the author of Reboot Your Life and the Life Reboot series. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I have a really special guest that I want to introduce you to. Her name is Andrea Clow. And Andrea, tell us a little bit about you and introduce yourself to everyone watching.
So first off, I guess I'm Andrea Clow, as you've already said. Who am I? Um, I am a mother of one, a little boy. He's almost 3 years old. I have my husband. He's military, so we move around quite a bit. I am a personal trainer, and that was not always the plan. That was definitely not the plan to begin with. And I do everything online. I work from home, so I'm home all the time with my son. It
Mm.
definitely was not what I originally planned. I was not convinced about being a stay-at-home mom at all. I was like, no, we
I
can't.
I know, and that's my favorite thing is how life, sometimes we resist because we're like, this isn't what I was gonna do or expecting to do, and that's actually the path we're meant to be on. It's just, I think that's the reason for pain sometimes is because it takes you to that place where you're forced to look in the directions of where you want to go, where you're supposed to go, even if that's not where you thought you would end up. So, on that note, tell us a little bit about your beginnings and how you came to even need a reboot in your life.
So this kind of starts back in or right after I graduated high school. So as I was getting ready to graduate, I had all these big plans. I was going to be a physical therapist. I was going to have my horses, and everything was just going to be perfect. I was not looking at having any kids anytime soon. And then my husband and I, we were dating at the time, and we're like, we're going to get married 2 weeks after, or 2 months after graduation.
Wow.
So I got married to him, and then my entire family was like, "Oh my gosh, like what are you doing? You're literally throwing your entire life down the drain right now. Nothing's gonna go as planned." And it definitely did not. But so there was a really rocky relationship between everyone, between my family, my friends. I had friends that quit talking to me. Um,
Mm.
so challenging. And then when a month after we got married, I ended up moving down to Louisiana because that's where he was stationed. And I was just finishing up work and stuff back home. I was living with my in-laws because my parents and I weren't talking.
Oh.
Um, so I moved down there, and 24 hours away because we're originally from Michigan. And so now we're going to Louisiana. Apparently his door So I moved down there, and I was like, I have nothing. I went from working 16-hour days. I was working for a gas station at the time. I was working for my grandma. I was riding a ton and working for my trainer. I was doing all these things, and I just went there, and there was nothing. I was living on a military base.
It's like literally point zero all over again.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was too late getting down there. I couldn't go and get into school. And so I was like, oh my gosh, and I couldn't find a job. It was horrible. And in those 3 months, I ended up falling into like this really deep depression because he was working constantly, like he was always working. So it was just me at the house. And I think it was after about 2 months after I moved down there, we got a dog eventually. So that definitely helped. But it was still like I didn't have this interaction. I didn't know people in my surroundings. I didn't know my surroundings. And I didn't feel comfortable enough just to go out there and be like, hey, be my friend.
Yeah, and I'm sure you also carried a lot of weight from having just disconnected from everything you know and love. There's a pressure to that as well.
Definitely. And I was like, came to this realization. I was like, I can't go to school for 6 years. There's no way, being military, we have to move every 3 years, and transferring my credits from college to college
Would be complicated.
physical therapy would be almost too complex to the
Hmm.
point I don't even know where I'm going in 3 years.
Exactly.
Like you can't can plan for that. So I ended up going into nursing, and I am someone who does not like blood. No
And you picked nursing?
I'm like, I can do this in 2 years. I'll just try to get something where I don't have to see blood.
No needles.
I don't even look at needles when they go into my arm. I'm like,
That's me too. I'm like this.
so I started going for this degree, and then he came up on orders for deployment. And I
Mm,
found out I was pregnant in probably this was so I moved down there in August. I got pregnant in October. He got orders or he found out about his deployment sometime in February, I think it was. And so everything kind of turned upside down again because then I ended up moving back to Michigan,
okay.
quitting school again. And it was just like this cycle of like what is going to happen, like nothing is following
Working
through.
as planned.
Absolutely nothing at all.
Right.
So I ended up trying to take a few courses while I was there online, but I still couldn't do it because the college there didn't have what I
Mm.
needed in-person classes. So I was just in this constant cycle of everything just getting thrown in my face. Like, I'm going to start this. And then it's like, nope, no, you're not. Like, this isn't what you're
Exactly.
meant to do. And it was just pushing forward. And when he got back 9 months later, I moved back down to Louisiana and everything was different. Like, just not seeing someone for 9 months and not having that same rhythm. So you're completely on two different planets. What is happening? And couldn't go to school.
It's like meeting him all over again.
Yeah, exactly. And
Hmm.
we ended up coming up on orders to come to Colorado. So it was going, and this was 6 months later, 6 months after he got back. So it's not like I could just start school and then be like, hey, I'm transferring, because you have to get into a very intensive program
So
for nurse.
basically, during this whole time, you've been postponing, postponing,
Yeah,
postponing,
yeah.
postponing. Okay.
It was like start and stops.
Yep, exactly.
And um, so,
So
so
you moved to Colorado 6 months later.
yeah. And during this time, we had gone through such like a change in ourselves that I ended up leaving. Like I went back home to Michigan for 3 months. I couldn't take like the pressure and everything that was going on around me. And I was like, I have nothing in my life.
Hmm.
Like literally nothing. I have no degree. I have no direction.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of this child. I don't have any friends here. It's like I don't have anything. I'm just sitting in this house all day. It's too hot to even be outside half the day. Um, and I went back home and just like completely had to disconnect from where I was in my life and just be like, all right, what do I enjoy doing? What do I love doing? And I ended up running into this college online where I could get my personal training. I was like, this is genius. Because like I've always been active. I'm always telling people what to do to
Exactly.
get
It's like
fit.
already part of your life naturally, so it seemed like it made perfect sense.
Exactly. And I have such a strong desire to level myself up in my riding abilities through dressage, um, which is the style of riding I do. So I was like, this is perfect. Like I can do this connection. And I had to do so much meditation to this. I went to different counselors. I was put on depression medication. I the
Yeah.
depression medication was the worst part I think of the entire thing because I was on it and then I was eating so much, I was gaining weight and I was still almost passing out from my body being like there's not enough food in my system. And then I would be exhausted and then
It's
when I
cyclical, right? Then you just spiral.
yeah, and there's so many different like things, drugs that they're putting into those
Oh,
just to make sure that you're on this more balanced, your hormones are almost balanced. Um, so I started going to school again and got that all started up, and I was like, I'm gonna do this business because I can't start a job and then have to quit in a few months because we're moving again or I don't know where things are gonna be. So I started doing all of my training online. And I was falling into these like depressive states, like anxiety and depression and exhaustion and all of this. And it was just like, what is wrong? Because I'm doing something I love and I was back to writing again. So that's kind of like my pick me up. That's where I get,
exactly. So you're like, okay, wait, I'm trying to create balance and I'm still feeling out of flow.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And what I ended up coming back and doing is I had to go through like different food sensitivities and figure out what are the foods that I'm reacting to because those will actually put you in a depressive state if you're having a reaction to a food. Um, so I started going through all this different stuff like how can I get this under control? And I had friends that did Reiki and I had friends that did pendulum work and stuff like that. And I started working with them and doing a system called NATE. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's NA. But it's pretty much like this non-invasive allergy test, not testing, but they like it helps reduce or get rid of the sensitivity to a food or to an event or something in your life, and they're running like a magnet up and down your back. And then you
That sounds
avoid
cool.
substance for like 25 hours, and
Okay.
then you have a reaction after that to it.
Huh. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah. So once I started getting all these food sensitivities under control, I started like leveling out my energy levels. I was like, oh my gosh, like who is this person? Like I just started like slowly working myself up the ladder, and now it's to a point where like I start seeing things in my future. Like I'll have like flashes and then this like super exciting like energy wave that'll just run through me, and it's so cool to experience that. And the fact that I had to come from such a low place to the point I was sitting in the corner wanting to literally not live another day, where like I'm like seeing my future now of just like different areas of where
And
I'm
not
gonna.
just seeing it, but feeling it, like
Mhm.
genuinely getting that excitement and that rush of like, good things are on the way. I'm on the right path.
Mhm.
I love that. It's so funny because I believe more and more and more, and I started to believe it for myself, but the more I speak to women and talk about this rebooting process that we all go through, I feel like anxiety, sadness, that's all a way for our bodies and our souls to redirect us. It's like if it's painful, you'll pay attention to it. If it hurts, and you'll look for solutions, you know? It's like that contrast of this feels really terrible. So from here, I'm going to look for things that feel really, excuse me, really good. But it's, it's like we wish we could avoid the lows. We wish we could bypass getting to that rock bottom. But I don't know that there's another way to grow without it, because I feel like everyone has that moment, that epiphany moment where they're like, I could do better. I could be more. I can feel good. And they usually get to it at the rock bottom. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's almost like a portal to all the good things.
I remember we were back in Louisiana, and it was right before I had my son, and I was laying there, and I'm like, it was on the weekend, and we are just laying in bed. I'm like, is this what the rest of my life is gonna look like? Laying in bed all
I've had
day.
that moment.
I can't do this. Like I
Yeah.
can't.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, it's like this turning point, and then for those first few months before I left, I was like meditating for an hour just to try to level my own energy and just make sure I was in like a state that I could deal with. Because if I didn't have that, I couldn't function pretty much.
And I think what's so interesting is you, and you've said it a few times, and I really connect to it, is, it's just, we, we're like, okay, in your situation, I'm married to someone in military, so I have to move around a lot. So I'm gonna wait until there's space for my dreams. Okay, so we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna give and make sure that the people I love are cared for, and I'm gonna put myself on hold and put myself on hold. And there comes a point where we've put ourselves on hold for so long that we've disconnected the call. It's like, wait a minute,
Like,
wait,
who am I?
yeah, and it's like, what was I? Wait, I was holding something. What was it? You literally just pull back so far that
Hmm.
it's so far in the distance that and it's that trudging road back to find who you are and what you want and who's inside of you and your highest being to rise you, to lift you back into yourself. And I feel like our kids benefit from that once we become moms because them seeing that our children being able to see that we care for ourselves and that we're following our dreams and desires can only set that example for them. That you matter at all times and that no matter who you have to care for, you're one of the people. You're one of the people you have to care for.
Right. Like as moms, we can't throw ourselves into our kids 24/7 because we lose our entire like personality almost. Like you become this monotone person that no one enjoys being around, and you're like, you don't even like yourself to a point. Like I had huge dreams of like riding in the Olympics and all this when I
Mm,
was in high school. And I had my son, and I was told that I couldn't go to school, I couldn't have my horse, I couldn't have a dog, and I couldn't have a kid all at once.
yep.
I was only allowed to have like one or two of those things. So
So you
being,
give up parts of yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you give up the parts that like pretty much mean the most to you because no one sees the importance of them in your life. They're like, well, you just have to give to our family and us, and that is your life now. Like everything else is just extra.
I
That's
know it's
like,
like that underlying contract we sign, like you become a wife, you become a mother, you get put on hold and you just your job is to give. But I think that that's a stigma that we've put on ourselves that may not actually be accurate.
yeah,
It's like the expectation we put on ourselves, and then we begin to build our lives around that expectation. That it's so selfish to give to yourself before your family is cared for.
yeah. And I see that so much military side of it because as military wives, we're always on the go. We don't stop unless we're at our duty station for what 2 to 3 years, and that could be in Korea, that could be in Hawaii, that could be in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
So, and then we give so much. So this is a really cool thing that I like. Someone explained this to me. So if we give, we're pretty much draining our soul. The more we give, we drain our soul. But if we don't feed our soul with the things that we love to do and the things that light us up, that
Mm.
part of us pretty much doesn't get replenished. So we have to make this balance between things that we absolutely love and giving, because giving still is a part of us, but we still have to remember the things that light us up.
Well, that is beautifully said, and I love how you said that. And it's such a good mental image. It's okay to give, but know that every time you give, you've got to fill the tank back up. You've got to, you know, refuel what you can't just put out, put out, put out, and not put anything back in. So I really love that. What an amazing story. And it's that perseverance to honor yourself that I think really is my mission in life, is to show women who maybe are sitting in that place where we once were, going, this, it can't be like this forever, and I don't know what to do different. I don't know how to change. I just know that this can't be a forever thing. And to, for us who have kind of are on the next step of the journey, to be able to kind of give a hand to those women and say, listen, we've been there, we understand, we know, and it's possible to reboot. It's possible to, I called it in the last interview, the painful pivot,
Mhm.
because it's like in that pain, instead of letting it just absorb you, ask yourself, why are you here, pain? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me? Because it's there for a reason, and it's there to guide you to the things you do want and to the life you've always dreamed of.
Exactly. And like the same thing when we're looking at our health and like how our bodies feel. Like that's it all comes down to how we're dealing with the things in our life. So a lot of things, a lot of illnesses are actually stemmed from stress and not like our being able to deal with it in a positive way. So getting rid of the stress, you're going to reduce half the illnesses that everyone else in the world has.
Exactly. Your immunity is torn down.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, Andrea, I loved having you on the show. I loved hearing your story. You're an inspiration to me, and I know to a lot of people who are going to listen to this and feel like they connect to you and to your story. And so I'm honored to have you on the show. I'm so grateful that you spent time with me today. And to everyone watching, thank you for following us. Thank you for hearing these reboot stories. And we hope it's brought some inspiration and encouragement to your life. So thank you for watching, everybody. Bye
Thank
bye.
you